How's it going?
What up, Dan?
How the hell are you, dude? You're just out here hustling.
It's clanking.
Big wins.
Out here clanking.
Shipping stuff, buying stuff, making stuff.
Yeah, we're doing a lot. I'm glad I'm finally on the show. I haven't been on the show yet.
No, I've just been simping for you in the DMs on occasion. I try to cool it down, but I'm glad we were able to wait for you to just compound a whole bunch of big news items so we could just get into it all. I mean, I definitely want to get into the Clanker acquisition, but I would love to start a little higher level here. I think, in our previous interviews, a lot of what we talked about was just the very purposeful, hard work that you did to go onboard the first users into Farcaster. There's a lot of thought put into making sure that there was a quality of connection and opportunity there. And there was, which in my mind was very much seeing the social opportunity here. You wanted to put in the work to build the right people to fill that sort of base layer. And I think as of right now, it's probably best to look at Farcaster as a trading asset social ecosystem. I'm curious about that progression and ultimately what led to the very clear fine point that I think you're putting on the future of the product today.
Yeah, so look, we started Farcaster in 2020. The goal was to build decentralized Twitter and use Ethereum rails underneath for the core identity part of the social network, right? We built that, right? It works, but that's what Base and Zapper and all these other apps are integrating with today. I think 4.5 years later, the decentralized Twitter appeal, we're kind of saturated on that market, right? So the number of people who are interested in a decentralized version of Twitter that aren't explicitly interested also in a political axis, which I think like some of the other decentralized social networks are, I think, far more politically oriented. Mm-hmm. We have all the people who are interested in decentralized social, give or take, right? And I think where we have to get to is that kind of next 10x of growth and beyond, in order to make the whole thing interesting for developers to build, right? So if you're a mini app developer or you're building on top of the Farcaster protocol, the thing that you actually want from the protocol, it's not a technical thing. It's you want daily active users, right? Like people who can potentially go use your app. And so for us, we view that as the primary problem, and we've been trying a whole bunch of different things with kind of a social first onboarding approach. We tried video, we tried creator payouts, like all these different experiments, channels for the last few years. And the thing that is for the first time working in a repeatable way is get people to use our wallet. Like people love using the Farcaster wallet, right? It works on all the chains that you want to be on, cross-chain instantly. No such thing as like bridging. And then for Farcaster Pro subscribers, we have 0 fees. So, and actually today, one thing that I'll say here is we're doing something called No Fee November. So we're gonna, kick off, or I guess tomorrow or Friday, the no fees for anybody in November, and I think that will be a great opportunity for more people to come in and use the wallet. But here's the thing: people coming in to use the wallet stick around for the social features, right? Like whether it's trade comments or they're seeing other people on the P&L leaderboard. And then naturally, there's just a bunch of other people building the ecosystem so that when you have something like Say Angel's mini app for the Warplit NFT, it can actually go viral because there's a baseline social network underneath, right? So it's like Chris Dixon has this blog post that's pretty famous from 2015 called "Come for the Tool, Stay for the Network." That's what we're leaning into. It's like a wallet is a tool. You can use a wallet and not know anyone on the network, but if you start using this wallet and really enjoy it, then you're much more likely to stick around because of all the features that are related to the social network.
Does this change how you're positioning or kind of pitching Farcaster to new people these days? Like, are you telling them it's a wallet or
yeah, and this is a bit of an evolution. So we have a new brand. We did that last week. The homepage, work in progress, but for a long time it was kind of a look at this, it looks like Twitter, kind of a rip of the Instagram marketing website, and now we're moving in a direction. I think we have more plans here, but the discover, trade, create, those are kind of the 3 things. You can come in, you can discover a bunch of stuff that's going on, specifically I think within Base and the Clanker ecosystem. Like we have kind of an unfair advantage there, just given the number of people who are building in that ecosystem as well as the social graph there. The trade experience, we want to make it best in class, so low fees, cross-chain, instant. And then the create component, is Clanker, right? So the idea that you come in, get into the wallet, get into this ecosystem, get into this network, and now when you actually want to go build something, whether that's, again, a mini app or another client, if you end up doing an app coin, you're going to do that on Clanker. And we believe that Clanker is the best platform for app coins. We have 3 coins that got listed on Coinbase, which I don't think most launchpads actually have that record. And so we're really excited to take Clanker to kind of the next level, both in vertical integration within the Farcaster app, but also continuing to add functionality that makes it the preferred place that if you're a developer, you want to use Clanker to launch, because you're going to get a huge boost on distribution as well as kind of credibility.
I feel like we're in this broad come to Jesus moment with crypto, where I think there was a lot of belief that there might be new types of things that are valuable, or new types of business models, et cetera. And I think we've kind of circled in on 2, which is, I think, represented in your product, the idea of new asset issuance and ultimately trading or transaction fees. And I think sort of realization of those business models has required a lot of people to rethink where they're going with their products. But I also think it provides a huge set of possibilities for where these products can go. I do think it's interesting that we're seeing a lot coalesce around the opportunity that I think you're going after here in slightly different ways. So whether that's Base and the Base app, or that's, we had Donnie on from Phantom last week, or we're talking about FOMO earlier today. There's sort of this approach for social. There's a trading experience that needs to be top tier. And then ultimately, I think if we look at the history of crypto, the reason people are willing to do the absurd things that we had to go do to get into these networks is that there's a very compelling asset over there that I want to go buy and own. And so to me, that's the genius of the Clanker acquisition in my mind, is that you're kind of owning origination there. And the tie-in with the entire community and the talent that exists there is this going to be this petri dish for new assets, and the desire to get into those new assets, I think, is the most compelling reason to go sign up for something new.
Yeah, I think that the big thing for us as we get into kind of like focusing on wallet features is, my point of view is, if you're trading on chain, fees should be 0. So anyone who's trying to charge you 1% to do something that you can go do yourself for 0, like, it's just a matter of time before the native apps don't have 1% fees. And so anyone who's building a business on a 1% fee is ripping off consumers. And so I think for us, we want to skate to where the puck is going and give that back to consumers, right? So you shouldn't be paying trading fees at all. You should never have to even think about a chain, right? So cross-chain should just kind of be invisible and all that. But to your point, I think asset issuance is interesting to us, because if you kind of look at a lot of successful Farcaster mini apps and kind of ecosystem developers, they have an app coin, and that is actually a tool to build community, right? So I think of something like Bracky or Noise. They have a coin, and they also have a kind of really rabid fan base and people who are really excited about watching the app develop. And so I think for us, creating app coins, that is a core part of the social stuff that we do. And so tying all that together, I think over the next few months is something we're excited to do.
I'm curious about the maybe story behind the Clanker acquisition. Was this something you'd been thinking about for a while? Did the kind of Rainbow saga kind of open your eyes to the opportunity there? Yeah,
so we had approached Jack, and we had no idea there were other parties or anything involved, in the sense that we were excited. We pitched him on a vision of what a Farcaster plus Clanker integration and kind of roadmap looks like, and I think he got excited about that. And so we're really excited to execute on that over the next few months.
Can you give us a hint of what that looks like in 6 months? Like, where's the compass heading here?
Yeah, so I think one, we should vertically integrate so that Farcaster makes it really easy to launch assets. But fine, you add a button that you can launch an asset. I think what Farcaster provides from a differentiation standpoint, frankly, from any wallet, is I have this point of view that if you start as a wallet and try to add social features, you don't get a social network. Whereas you can start with a social network and add a wallet and actually build a pretty good wallet, but you at least start with the social network. And I think the kind of core distribution virality that the Farcaster feed can provide, because every user has a wallet, right? I think the Warplet NFT is a nice case study of that. It's the top trading volume project on OpenSea. Yeah, NFTs aren't as big as they used to be, but the point is a relatively small community relative to the size of X, Telegram, but because everyone has a wallet and you have that virality, that to me is the kind of secret sauce for Clanker, in the sense that if you're launching a Clanker and then you have an unfair distribution advantage on Farcaster, you have that much more of a chance to actually hit escape velocity and kind of break out across all of not just crypto Twitter, but like every wallet, every DEX screener, and then that's the beauty of kind of the coin as a distribution mechanism, is that it's completely composable with everything else in the ecosystem. So getting the kind of ball rolling on Farcaster with Clanker, I think is the thing that we want to kind of go and focus on. And so really helping developers or anyone launching a coin to actually get that initial virality going. And then the nice thing is you have Base, Zapper, two kind of like more kind of wallet, fully integrated wallet, social type of clients building on the exact same graph, right? So everyone's like, oh, well, we have a social feed here, and we're doing comments here. The reality is when something is starting to go viral on Farcaster, that's just not only in our app, but it can go viral on Base, it can go viral on Zapper. And so that collective distribution is, no one else has that. And if we have more clients integrate into the protocol, that flywheel effect gets even bigger.
Flywheel mentioned. An actual flywheel. We've been critical on some of the flywheel conversations before. So one of the other things that we've been talking a lot about is this idea of who the first buyers of tokens are, how you get your tokens into the hands of people who actually care. And I think there is this interesting dynamic in Farcaster. I don't know if it can survive massive scale. I guess we'll see. But where there is social context and almost like peer bonds that create this sense of almost response. Like I feel. So I wanted to go buy that Worklet NFT, but it was going to require me to sell some noise to go do it. And I'm just like, I'm not doing that. That's not going to happen. And so there is this connection that kind of happens around the social network side of things that I think is maybe seriously underexplored by other places that are launching tokens. Is my insight onto something here?
Yeah, and I think the challenge is, again, going back to, is you just can't tack on social features and get a social network, right? If you add chat, if you add a feed, there's people are just going to do the exact same thing they've been doing for the last 4.5 years. They're going to go, well, I'm already on Twitter. Like, why do I need to do this? And like I said, we might be smaller, but we do have actually a dedicated group of people who use the app like a social app. So
you don't need 1 billion people to own a token. I mean, we
right.
look at
And
the
if
number of
everyone
token
has a wallet and it's funded and there are notifications, like you can actually get distribution quite fast. And so I think we're pretty optimistic that we're already basically getting to parity with the core functionality that you'd expect in a wallet. But then we have the 4.5 years of compounding on all the social stuff, like literally every little detail. You'll notice that we had an all-time high DAO day this week, tons of new signups. When we had this happen in 2024 with Frames and DGen, the feed was just like overwhelmed with kind of like slop, and you got all these spammy replies. All to solve the problem. Like people, I didn't see a single person complaining about like, whoa, I'm seeing too many. So all of that hard work that we had to do over the last few years around what is required to create a good social experience, we're getting that out of the box for free, right? So now we're just playing in the kind of like trade and asset side and discovery side, which new area for us, but I think we have a great team to be able to execute. I mean, we shipped candlestick charts and a top P&L trader leaderboard in the same day yesterday. We have more stuff coming this week. So I'm excited that we're going to be able to play in a new area from the product standpoint, but get all the compounding that the hard work we've spent the last 5 years doing.
I'm interested in how you're thinking about post assets. So right now they're collectible NFTs if someone decides to bid on them. Obviously this is different than what Base App is doing or even Zora is doing. Like, do you feel like NFTs are the right kind of format for that, or do you see a world where those are potentially clankers?
I think the way to think about it is like the collectibles experiment that we did, it continues to run, right? Like we've done it, it's on chain. It's peer-to-peer in the sense that people are now like super tipping each other for these collectibles, which, the expectation that you're gonna be able to go sell a screenshot of a cast is pretty low. That said, I think if you start to get scale for Farcaster, and so I would imagine it's probably 10x from here, you probably start having people remix those collectibles away, right? Where it's like, oh, if I only, because it's a one of one, right? So if I own the collectible, that's the provenance of the cast. Maybe there's someone who builds something that like converts it into a clanker or something like that, whether it's us or someone else. But my point is that those dynamics only emerge if you hit scale. So I think we're not focused on that right now. But I think it was always our kind of interest when we were doing the feature is like, okay, 99.99% of casts are not going to go viral in terms of like being an interesting coin. But we've had casts on the network before, something from me or Vitalik or other people. When you do something that is actually kind of funny, people, that's what they already do. They just reply and they try to turn it into a clanker. But you can imagine, I think, a version of the world where if there are more eyeballs on Farcaster across multiple clients, that mechanic could be like, okay, if you get the auction, and maybe we reduce the auction length. If you get that provenance, you can automatically convert it into a clanker. And now you have the actual, it's a cultural thing, right? You can't force it. So if we were to try to go say, hey, this is the way to launch a clanker, I think it would blow up in our face. But if that was just culturally start emerging, and then people say, well, I don't want to trade, there are 5 versions of this meme. I want to trade the one with provenance, that could happen.
We've seen some brute force pushing of content coins into the broader consciousness, but I think point in case in point there as well. I'm curious about how you view the business model for Farcaster going forward, because I think trading fees and your articulation that nobody should be paying 1% or any fees on trading, in my mind, almost closes off a pretty exciting and pretty clear business model for you here. And then the acquisition of Clanker, and almost makes me think that there's sort of like a GDP like way of looking at the network that you're building, and that getting some exposure to the productive assets in that country or could be interesting. How are you thinking about monetization in the future?
So Farcaster has a growing group of subscribers. So we have 40,000 pro subscribers. A bunch of those are yearly, so they paid $120 on chain. Others of those are monthly, so they've paid for 1 month. I think Warplet had a huge increase. I think we added something like almost 30,000 subscribers as a result of Warplet, because the developer said, hey, I only want to allow people who have Farcaster Pro, which is on chain, so the composability of that. So one interesting thing is maybe other people have on-chain subscriptions, but from my standpoint, we have 40,000 on-chain subscriptions that are completely composable. That's actually an interesting new primitive. And there is a company in the kind of TradFi world that did subscription no fees for trading. It's Robinhood, right? So Robinhood Gold. So I think Farcaster app to me is a very clear. You can use the app for free, pay trading fees, or no trading fees pro. But the whole goal is to like continue to deliver value to the pro subscription in the same way that Amazon Prime or Costco. It's just like, here you pay for the subscription, and then we're going to try to give you the best possible thing across everything you're doing in crypto. Then on the Clanker side, issue an asset, we get a cut of the fees, because what Clanker is going to deliver for you is credibility in the sense that, okay, it's an audited set of smart contracts. They're Lindy at this point. They're 500,000 Clankers. We're going to continue to add functionality and give people the kind of like knobs that they would want, that saves them time to go launch an asset. I think a lot of people are like, oh, why would I pay the fees? I'll just go launch my own contract. It takes a while to get it audited, and then there's the risk. Whereas I think we want to be able to deliver just like a best-in-class toolkit for launching any asset on chain. And then I think one thing that we're considering is, and I think actually Pump.Fun has done a really good job on this, is as assets get larger, they pay lower fees. So I think that we're still pretty early on this, but I think aspirationally we want to get to a model that makes sense, where it's like you don't want to actually have your biggest successes get grumpy because they're paying kind of like high fees. So there's probably some curve over time to go make that work. And that's how it works in payment processing, right? So Stripe charges a brand new startup the rack rate. They make a lot of margin there. And then when you become, Uber or Amazon, you get to negotiate Stripe way down, and Stripe is still happy to take that because overall it makes economic sense. And so this is a very clear model, and I think we need to actually go implement it for Clanker. TBD on exactly when and how we do it, but I think over time you just want to be aligned long term with your biggest success cases.
I need to ask, as someone who's at Coinbase and also has been building a social network for 5 years, what you think of the Base app direction.
I think the base app direction is pretty exciting in the sense that Jesse is taking a bold bet, and people told Jesse like when he was starting base, like, okay, like this is everyone gave the like .eth equivalent of like this isn't decentralized enough or no one's going to use it or like whatever, and he literally like willed the L2 ecosystem into existence. Arbitrum, I think, did a great job like early on, but in the sense that there was still a lot of apprehension, and I remember talking to a lot of people building consumer apps at the time. It's like, oh, not being on ETH-L1 versus an L2, and I think like basically made it totally acceptable to be on an L2 as a builder, which I think has been a huge thing for the space going forward. And so I just betting against that guy doesn't seem like it's easy for people to make fun of him on CT, and he, I think, embraces it, but like just there are certain people that you don't want to like be on the other side of a contrarian bet. And so I think in my mind, it's like he's got a vision for the base app that is radically different from what Coinbase Wallet was before. And he's motivated the team to transform it in a very short period of time. And I'm a big fan of vertical integration in the sense that he now has an app for the kind of leading L2. And so if I'm another chain, I'm kind of going like, oh man, like do I need to actually have an app, because this is going to be kind of an unfair advantage. And then obviously you have apps like Farcaster that have a deep time in with Base in the sense of like Clanker, the dominant platform that the assets get launched as Base, Farcaster wallet, despite serving all these other chains, like the kind of like early advantage that we have in terms of discovery is on Base. So I think it's a pretty bold strategy, and I jury's out in terms of like, will it work? But like it seems to be, and he's kind of continuing to make a lot of progress there.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet against Jesse. Yeah, anyways, I'm curious, maybe as a last question, and we'll let you get back to work on the 17 new features you have to ship by Friday. It's exciting for all of us. How has your motivation changed in how, and what gets you excited around what you're building here? It feels like it is, in one way, a fairly large departure from maybe the original Insight, and yet I think you show up here with passion and excitement and a desire to win here that is probably stronger than even when we first met. I actually was looking for your email, and I looked up the introduction email. I think it was to your personal Gmail that you were still loading everybody up on back in the day. So I'm just curious, how has your motivation changed at all, and what is driving you on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so I think the way to think about it is when Varun and I started working on Farcaster in 2020, obviously we were kind of like, let's go build a decentralized version of Twitter. Decent departure from that in the sense that, yes, we still have this protocol and there's social features, but we're building something that is very different than a, build Twitter, but decentralized. I think that the thing that motivates me though is just like winning. And so I'm less like, I don't care as much about like, oh, I didn't achieve the decentralized Twitter. If there's a version of the world where Farcaster is a protocol, right? Like every single wallet that we're adding is adding a user to the protocol. That those users are available to developers, right? So someone can go build the kind of worklet experience, or Base can integrate permissionlessly with it. And so if the path to 10 million daily active users or 100 million daily active users on chain, right, is come for the wallet, stay for the network, I'm fine with that, because if that's the path to winning, right? And will it be the path to winning? Who knows? That's part of being an entrepreneur and trying things.
I think you're on the right track, man.
Of, like, fuel, just like waking up every day and being like, okay, like what is the next thing foot forward that we can try? And if that doesn't work, it's reevaluate and keep going. And I think Varun is an amazing co-founder in that, and I think we're both pretty stubborn in a way of like, we just kind of keep pushing, right?
Yeah, stubbornness is great. I love it. Why is the chat asking about tattoos? Is there something related to tattoos in you, or is this just like a weird chat bots doing stuff?
I don't have a tattoo.
Okay, good.
You didn't get a Clanker tattoo or something?
No. Okay. Oh, I think someone had tattooed the Farcaster. I think Carter.
Oh, Carter. It is Carter in chat here.
Yeah. So there's like a tattoo of the Farcaster original arch, which people have this like irrational love of this arch. The story behind the arch was like, Varun was like, well, we need a logo. I proposed a couple of logos, just the two of us. And he's like, these are terrible. And so Farcaster is from a book, the Hyperion, and so it's kind of like an arch. And so I Google like CCC0, like, SVG arches, and I found some arches coming off. And I started removing elements in Figma. I mean, this is a disaster. Like, I'm in Figma. And at some point I was just like, okay, this is minimal enough. Turn it white, put it on a purple background, and call it the logo. But if you like look at the old logo, it is not even balanced. It's like it's some jank SVG, and so people really like it. And but I think the new logo is cohesive in a bunch of work. We work with Primary Studio, Nick Pattinson, who I think is amazing. He did the I Love New York logo when he was at I think Pentagram. So like we were really excited in the sense that we wanted to refresh everything in a way that now the team is unblocked, because we have a lot more brand elements and everything is cohesive. And I think if you get used to the logo, you just get used to it, right? I think like the one for me is like Airbnb redesigned their logo, and I remember when the Airbnb logo, the new one came out, I was like, this is terrible. And now you look at it and it's like, actually, it's pretty iconic. And so much of that stuff is just like, if the product continues to be great and you use it every day, you probably get used to it. And so that's the affinity. But I really do feel bad for Carter having the old logo tattooed. Although there's a lot of love for that logo.
Hell yeah! It's I was in early. You get the original. There's people out there with the original Twitter logo tattooed somewhere.
For sure. Yeah.
Maybe they use it now.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's tattooing the X logo.
Yeah. No, maybe it was a way to get rid of some bad tattoos in a very lazy way. I don't know. All right, Dan, anything else you want to share here? Anything to look forward to?
Yeah, no fee November. So we'll be rolling that out in the next couple of days.
Yeah,
listen, I think it would be a great way for people to try out the Farcaster wallet.
The wallet is exceptional. I think seeing you start to make the moves towards that a little while ago made a ton of sense. Asset issuance makes a ton of sense. I think you guys are pushing on a really interesting direction here. And I think if we look in a couple of years, I think there's going to be a lot of other people who will eventually see this direction as the big opportunity in crypto. And I think you got a bit of a head start. So kudos. We love the Farcaster ecosystem. C Club has been early in Farcaster. We have some really exciting investments in that space. They continue to do incredible work. So I feel like we're still just getting started here. Anyways, thanks for hopping on, man.
Is it technically C Club or Nicholas, the Donate Mini app?
So C Club built it, but Nicholas took the lead on it, and he's sort of maintaining it as he goes forward. So the crowdfunding,
one of the best mini apps. Where it's like literally GoFundMe on chain in a mini app. Just works.
No fees.
No fees. Right.
No fees.
Yeah. So if
Nicholas
you're raising money on chain, you should go use the mini app.
Crowdfund mini app. Very easy to take money in from folks that have money in their wallets in Farcaster. Carter's saying here, there's no way they're going to remove it. So that tattoo is staying on. Very proud.
Right. Art stays on.
Art stays on. All right, Dan, thanks for hanging out, man. We'll check in soon.
Cheers.
Peace.